Yes,
Good.
sir.
So first I want to send my condolences to the McCaskey family. Anyone that's spent time with Virginia, gotten to know her, or learned about her, knows how much she meant to not only the Bears organization, but the community as well. A lot has changed since the last time we spoke. Obviously, got Ben on board. Our relationship has been outstanding. Everything that I learned about him through the interview process has played out really well in person as well. And you could really tell that through the construction of his staff. Very thoughtful in everything that he does, strategic in terms of the setup and who he wants and the chemistry within the building and the different personalities and experiences that everyone brings to the group, which is really important. And you can see how that's going to play out as we get into the off season, developing our players, as well as to in season, preparing week in and week out. And I've been really happy with the staff. You can feel the energy in the room. Guys like Dennis Allen bringing a lot of different experiences into the building to help support Ben, as well as the entire coaching staff. And then the energy that we have on the offensive side as well. These guys are juiced up. It's a totally different feel these days for the group that's in there. Want to say thank you to our football ops department. I challenged them before we even got into the coaching search to be the best in the world at onboarding our staff. Coming from experience, someone that's coming from outside the organization how fast and how efficient and how well you're set up can be critical and essential to really just getting up and running, getting your staff going and all of that. So they did a really good job from relocation to getting the computer systems up, the tutorials, and really just getting our coaching staff to understand our roster, both on the field and off the field. So a really good start by them, and I appreciate them for doing that. We've made a lot of progress so far. Really started off getting with the coordinators and Ben and talking about what's the scheme that they want to run. What are some of the changes we're going to need to make offensively and defensively in terms of the traits, characteristics of the players that play in different positions and how they're going to move on the field within the scheme. We also had opportunity to review the roster, to go through, to see what fits, what doesn't fit, what changes we're going to have to make to be adaptable for players to be highly effective in this new scheme with the new coaches. Those conversations have been great. And then really our pro staff did a good job getting them up and running on free agent process. So when we come here, start watching the draft prospects, we can start putting this puzzle piece together and build this team the right way so we can get off to a hot start with this new system that we're in. Want to give a shout out to Matt Feinstein, promoted him to VP of Football Administration. He earned that, put a lot of time and effort into really healing our cap situation from the time we walked in to being very flexible so we can accomplish a lot both in the years past and also as we move forward. Being healthy with your cap and your cash spending is critical to having success in this league and sustaining success. And then obviously transactions, we released Gerald Everett and DeMarcus Walker just a few days ago. With that situation, anytime you kind of have gray in terms of fit with the scheme change and their contract situation, I think giving them the opportunity, giving their representation opportunity to come to the combine, get their names out there, they can get a good seat at the table with the team before all the seats are taken. So from there, I'll open up the questions.
Ryan, as you incorporate Ben into your personnel side, what does he add to the group in that regard?
Yeah, we talked about this a lot just within the search, having a clear vision of what every single position needs to have. Now, it's never going to be perfect. You can't have like a prototype at every single position, but as a front office, we want to be as close as possible with that. So his ability to really give a clear vision of what he wants and needs to be successful has been really, really good. And you can just tell the high football IQ is on a totally different level than what I've seen and been a part of before. So it's really good.
Ryan, over the past month, what has been the process of getting Ben's vision into your head so that you understand what exactly he's looking at? How do you guys start that and navigate the early stages?
Yeah, so it starts with just individual conversations with us sitting down and going through it. But I think the big thing is bringing the groups together. So our entire front office got together. We went through position by position, the criteria of what he's looking to do. And then we did it again when all of our scouts flew in for our draft meetings, went through that once again just to, again, understand and have a clear vision of what we're looking for. Because that does alter the way that you stack your board and prioritize your free agency.
I know you're very collaborative with everybody that you work with in terms of decisions, whether it's Ian Cunningham or whether it was Matt Eberflus before. Will Ben Johnson have more say than maybe his predecessor in terms of what he wants or what he thinks he needs on offense or defense?
No, I think it'll remain the same. We're constantly talking about how we need to go about improving our football team and adding to our football team. So those conversations will be happening almost on a daily basis, which is important in any relationship between the front office and the coaching staff, specifically a GM and a head coach.
Ryan, you've understandably been a little bit more cautious in free agencies as you built this roster through the draft. What's your willingness to be more aggressive at the top of the market this year?
Yeah, I think the clearer the vision, the more aggressive you can be. And that's important. So you want to be selective in free agency because it just historically, like if you look at it, like it can tell you and you can learn from that. But if there's certain players that kind of hit all the check boxes that you need, there's really no reason to hold back. Like, I feel like you can be aggressive in those situations.
Ryan, with DeMarcus off the roster and just knowing that the strength of this draft is the defensive line, but there's also a couple names out there in free agency, guys who've requested trades and some other free agent options. Like, how do you go about weighing how and when you will attack addressing that spot opposite Montez?
Yeah, that's part of what we're doing now. Again, it's a big puzzle. You know, free agency comes first. There's a lot of unknowns in the draft in terms of who's going to be there for you. I've talked about that before. You can have philosophical beliefs in how you build a football team, how you prioritize, but the supply has to match the needs, and those opportunities have to present themselves at the right time. So we're starting to put that puzzle piece together. But what I like about really the pairing so far of free agency and the draft is I do believe that the supply of players are matching our needs. So there's going to be good opportunities.
When
Right
you were
on
in
the-
Kansas City, what was your memories of your evaluations of Trey Smith?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into players that aren't on our roster right now, but I'm proud to be a part of that draft process.
Ryan, when you look at the defensive line, like whether it's end or tackle, how have kind of your views in that position evolved as you've been a scout, and what teams need and what you guys need, and maybe how that meshes with what Dennis is looking for to kind of find guys that can impact the passer?
Yeah, it's I would say it's been consistent. You really need interior, someone to really puncture the pocket from the interior for the exterior to be successful and productive as well. So it's that balance of the two.
Ryan, it's no secret that you are looking to add in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Is there one side of the ball or the other that, when you evaluate free agency versus the draft, that would maybe give you more flexibility in the draft if you attack it in free agency?
I think we're still kind of learning about that right now. I think we'll have more clarity when we get out of the combine and get to know some of these players even more. Our coaches, have dug into free agency a lot since they've gotten on board. But we have a lot more work to do on the draft when we get back. So I got to see how we get aligned on that too. The other thing too is just looking at the work that our coaches have done on free agency. We have a group of really good evaluators on the coaching staff too, which is really important.
What
do you learn about
together
Ryan?
your plan for free agency and the draft when free agency is a little more predictable? The draft is totally unpredictable. So you don't end up. You don't want to obviously sign a high-priced pass rusher and then draft one at number 10. So how do you decide which needs you can fill in which season, I guess, or which option?
Yeah, there's strategy to that, but I would probably argue and say if you get a good pass rusher in free agency and you draft a good pass rusher, you can't have enough good ones. I think we all watched that last game of the season, and that proves to be true. So, but yeah, you want to see how you can put the puzzle together where you can kind of fill all the needs perfectly. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Do you
Would it
think
be
Ben
easier
Johnson?
for you if it was the free agency first and then the draft, like in the NBA?
The other way around.
Yeah.
Draft and free agency.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
draft.
of course. Yeah, it would be a lot easier. I think it'd be more expensive in free agency too.
Ryan, you mentioned that it's a different feel in the building. So how does that impact just this week working together with Ben for the first time, and how you guys go about evaluating players this week?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of good conversations. You know, we all come with unique experiences from the different places that we've been, where you learn different things about specific characteristics of players, usage of players. You know, even when you look at the draft and guys come from different backgrounds and different schemes, like how does that project in the league? So a lot of really good conversations with Ben, but as well as the entire staff.
What changes are you looking for from an analytical perspective now that Ben Johnson is here?
Yeah, I would say we share the same philosophy. Is we want to use the data and analytics to help drive good decision making. You look for where it lines up and you feel really convicted about, you know, making decisions. If it's not lined up, it just forces you to do more research to get to a point where you feel comfortable with the direction that you're going.
Ryan, you mentioned the
different
different
direction for Caleb in year 2. What have you learned from Ben about his vision for how he'd like to get him on the bridge from this rookie year to year 2?
Yeah, I think he wants to start really from the foundation and build up from there. I think I mentioned before, there's some things, you know, in the development of a young quarterback that you got to have, and I know that he's going to hit that first, and really to help him be the best professional football player he can possibly be. But I love the excitement from both Ben and from Caleb. I know he's eager to get started and work with Ben and get his career going in year 2.
The run game's so important to what Ben does philosophically. With what he built in Detroit, do you have the personnel on the roster right now to mirror that, or hopefully to get there, or how do you envision adding or adjusting at running back this year?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at, again, what's available to us. I really believe it lines up where with the additions we're going to have over these, next 2 kind of player acquisition periods of free agency and the draft, we'll be in a position to have a strong run game, to stay balanced, which in turn helps your quarterback out as well.
Right. As you evaluated the tight end position, obviously Cole had a drop in production. You just released Harold Everett. How do you maximize that position under Ben's watch?
Yeah, I think, part of his scheme, and he showed it in Detroit, and I know it's not going to be exactly the same, but he is going to put those guys in a position to be successful, and usually with a young quarterback, tight ends are able to have a lot of production. So making sure those guys are lined up, have the chemistry, seeing things the same thing. I believe that, from his past, that should be able to take off pretty good.
Right. To Dan's question about Caleb and Ben, what's your role in merging those two, helping them kind of get on the same page, helping them get synchronized?
Yeah, we've had good conversations about this past year, but at the end of the day, that's going to be Ben's expertise. So let him do his thing and build a relationship, build trust, and coach him up.
Right. Do you feel like there's a lot of moves that need to be made for this team to be competitive in 2025?
I think there always is. I mean, when you get to the end of each year, there's a lot of, just based on how everything is built with contracts, it's a fresh start. I don't really believe that you can take momentum or anything from one year into the next. You really have to start over and build from the ground up. Obviously, the more continuity you have with contracts, that's helpful. So I think we can be aggressive in the way that we approach this offseason and get players in here that can help us take the next step.
Right, last one, Brad. Brad, last one right here. Brad.
Now that you guys have been able to review the season, what do you think of how Braxton Jones performed, kind of where he's at? Do you have a medical update on him?
Yeah, I think Braxton did a good job. Obviously, you never want guys to go through injuries, and we got to see how he comes on the other side of this. I know everything's been progressing and on schedule, and he's doing a good job with that, and he's been very active with rehabbing and getting back on his feet. So I think, again, that's another spot where it's going to be competition, and you build the best 5, or the line with the best 5 guys. So we'll see how that goes through this offseason and training camp.